Everybody to Offside and Out of Bounds. We are going through the NBA playoff preview. I am Adam, and as always, I'm joined with Junior. So, Junior, are you ready?
Let's
go. Okay, Junior, playoff preview. The NBA playoffs are here. There is one play-in game that is happening tonight. But we're going to kind of go through the East, then the West. So, let's jump right in.
Sure.
Okay, first matchup. We got Boston at Brooklyn for the opening series here. Season series 3-0, Brooklyn taking those. Then head-to-head scoring, you got there 102 to 117.
Now, one thing I do like to do is take a look at the history that these two franchises have. And it's not just tied to past playoff series. You had the big three, well, two of the big three move over, and the last time they faced off in the playoffs was 2003 and 2002. Okay. So they've played 10 playoff games against each other, and the Nets have won 8 of them. So, I mean, you look at the head-to-head scoring this year, the fact that Boston's been swept, they're without their second leading scorer. Jason Tatum just does not have shoulders big enough to carry the load to beat a team as deep as Brooklyn. Yeah. I think they might squeak out one. I'm going to give them one win, but this is going to be a fairly quick series from the way I'm seeing things.
Yeah, I got to agree with you here. I mean, Brooklyn is just heavy favorites, regardless of the seeding. They are just a monster of a team. Very, very talented players on this team, and I do think that this is going to be a relatively easy series for them. I don't think they're going to sweep. I think I'm going to probably line up with you. They'll probably go down like 3-0 and then win a game and end up losing 4-1. It's going to be exciting to see what level Brooklyn is going to play at with these stars in the playoffs, because we really haven't seen a lot of them all on the floor at the same time.
Health has been an issue.
And I mean, they're very talented and very deep, but let's just see, because this is going to be a very interesting series. I know it's going to be probably on the shorter side, but I'm still very excited to see these two teams kind of match up here.
I mean, when you look at the era of these super teams that get put together, two things happen. Either one, they win championships, or two, no one is healthy at the same time, and they never go anywhere. And that's just that could be a story of the Nets here.
Yeah.
But it looks like everyone's kind of close to 80, 90, 100%. So, when you get the dynamic players they have on the court when they're sharing the ball, I mean, you've seen glimpses of it, but they can take over a game, a series, a playoff.
Any one of them at any time. So
yeah, that's the scary thing.
Yeah, no, I have Brooklyn moving on here relatively easy as well. So let's move on to the next game. We have the Miami Heat at the Bucks. So this is a 3-6 matchup, I think.
Yes.
Okay, so the Miami Heat had a great run last year. If you look at the season series, Bucks have won all 3 games. Head-to-head scoring, Bucks have outscored them quite a bit. What do you think about this matchup? Is Bam going to have enough to, contain Giannis? What's Butler's, competition going to look like? Is he going to be well defended? I don't think so. I think Butler's going to have a field day here.
When you get a quote from Jimmy Butler that says, "I'm locked, the expletive deleted in," this dude's ready to go. And the last time these two met in the playoffs was in the bubble last year.
Yeah,
and the Heat absolutely dismantled them 4-1.
High-powered offense, lots of shooters, movement of the ball.
They have shooters, and they've got a playmaker in Butler who commands the respect of defenses, double teams.
Yeah,
and I don't know, when you hear Giannis go, I don't know if it's going to be different this year when he's talking about the playoffs. Mm-hmm. It kind of goes to show you that maybe he feels that he made a mistake staying there, because they haven't surrounded him with talent. This man's knees have been broken all year because he's carrying like 2 tons of waste behind him to keep this team where it is.
It hasn't been easy. Middleton wasn't the signing that they really needed, certainly not at that price.
I think Brogdon was a huge loss, but I think Brogdon also saw that this team's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
and you kind of get tired of running the table during the season to get smacked in the mouth in the first round. The thing is teams understand how to beat the Bucks, and that's if you shut down Giannis, you shut down the Bucks.
Yep.
Chris Middleton's not going to go off for 40, 45 a game. And
even if he did, it wouldn't be consistent, right?
No.
He wouldn't do that the next game. It's not enough.
So again, this isn't a Great White Buffalo situation because I don't think these teams are evenly matched. I think there's too much intelligence and IQ on the Heat, and I don't think there is an equal playing field here. So give me Miami. I think the Bucks might win one or two, but I think Miami takes this.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think this is going to be actually, I have a feeling this isn't going to be a very exciting series for some reason. I don't think the Bucks match up well against Miami. They didn't last year.
No.
I think this is Butler's but last year that was his coming out party, right?
Yeah,
everybody knew that this man had the talent, the ability to command the basketball and lead a team. He's a different kind of leader. I like his style personally. I think he fits in with this younger, team that they have, and his ability to shoot the ball if he needs to, or drive and dish, and just start swinging that ball around to those lethal shooters. I'm a big fan of Hero. I think this will probably be 4. Yeah, I think this is going to be like a 4-2, but. I think the Bucks are going to work extremely hard to win those two games.
I'll tell you this: if Butler gets a double-double in Game 1, there's like an 85% chance this will be a sweep.
Wow. I like Miami on the floor. I don't want them sitting and getting too much rest.
Yeah.
These guys want to play basketball, and they need to be playing basketball. So my fear of them sweeping would be that they would rest, turning to rust, and just I got to keep them in the flow. You got to keep peace.
Unless they get into a series quickly because the other team they end up facing is going to sweep too.
And that's a possibility. Yeah. Who would they would match up?
So 3-6, they would be 6, probably either Philly or Brooklyn.
So they would match up against Brooklyn Celtics.
Yeah.
Well, that's no easy feat.
No.
Okay. Let's move on here. Atlanta Hawks, New York Knicks. I think this is going to be a bit of a bloodbath series. I know Atlanta picked up a couple of wins on the back-to-back on the home and homes there. Hold on a second. It says 3-0, but I think it is Atlanta that won a couple of these games, right?
Yeah, I think the mistake we had made is we were thinking about this series, but it was actually Atlanta who beat Washington home and home.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Okay. So the Knicks have taken all 3 games then against Atlanta. Okay, fair enough. Scoring is relatively close within 9 points. I think we really have enjoyed watching the Knicks this year, and this is a bit of their return to the playoffs, coming out party. This team kind of had this NCAA type of feel where they're all playing together, next man up mentality. How do you see these two matching up in this series at 4-5?
This is going to be a tough drag them, knock them down type of series. The last time these two teams played in the playoffs, obviously the Knicks have had a huge drought, but it was in 1999 when Vince Carter was a rookie. Oh. And the Knicks swept Dominique Wilkins and Spud Webb. So they've played 9 games against each other head-to-head, and the Knicks have won 8 of them. And obviously the Atlanta Hawks of the late 90s, early 2000s is very different than now. I think that it's going to be very close. It's going to come down to a few points. If you're going to see any game in this series where a team's favored by more than 5, someone's lost their marbles. So bet the opposite side. But for me, I just think it's a feel-good story for the Knicks, and I can see them getting at least one playoff round win.
Yeah, I like the Knicks here. Not that I don't like the Atlanta Hawks. I think they have a great young team. They have the ability, to score the basketball very well. They have some shooters on that team also. I think the Knicks are just locked in. I think there's a different feeling. New York's giving them this jump, this energy. Madison Square Garden, the electricity of it all. I think it's going to be tough for Atlanta, but I do think this series is going to go deep. I think this is probably going to go 6 or 7 games. I think it's going to be competitive. I think it's what the Knicks need to get to the next round because there's no easy win there. They're likely to face off against Philly. And that's not going to be an easy series for them. That's going to be very, very difficult. It's going to be very physical. So I think a deeper, longer series in this matchup would actually benefit them just to get that experience. I mean, these guys, Julius Randle doesn't have any playoff experience.
No.
Probably maybe nobody on this team really has a lot of playoff experience or any.
They're a super young team. But you know the thing when you look down the rosters of each of these teams, they're kind of built similar.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of the more traditional point guard run offense in Atlanta, because Julius Randle tends to handle the ball a lot of the times. But if he's going to get pressured a lot, he's prone to turning the ball over. And the one thing that Atlanta has going for them is they have an absolute monster in the paint in Clint Capella. This guy will probably have a double-double by the half.
He'll have 10 rebounds at the half.
The dude just sniffs the ball out.
Yeah.
But, the Knicks have some shot blockers, so that's good for them. But the thing is that Atlanta likes to settle and they like to shoot from the outside.
They're happy to do that all game long.
They've got Hoyter, who this kid shoots the ball like very smooth, and Trey hits him from everywhere. A la Steph, and Collins has had a great year, and
absolutely,
they can bang with the best of them. So, again, it's going to be a close series, and I think it could go 6 or 7. But whoever comes out is going to be banged up.
Who do you have here?
I think the story of the Knicks, and I just, for me, there's two things that can happen here. The Knicks are going to be loose because no one expected them to be here, or there's just going to be so much pressure on them to win this series.
Well, there's definitely a lot of that.
That Atlanta is just loosey-goosey because no one expects them to win. And, I like underdog teams on the road in the first game. And, I can see Atlanta sneaking that first one out, which is going to build their confidence, which is going to kind of kill the confidence in New York. Because then every New York fan, every radio station, we hear it in Toronto. They're going to sit there and say, oh, it's the same old Knicks, back to the same old crap, and ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. And, those guys hear that stuff. So it's like that, those doubts start creeping into your head, and it could definitely change things up. So, it's going to be a long series, but I think the Knicks they sneak it out.
Yeah, I think the Knicks are going to command a marquee player in free agency. Somebody's going to end up landing there via trade or otherwise. But I think the Knicks are back, and I like them in this series as well. Okay, let's move on to the West. Okay, so the Wizards versus Philly. This is interesting because the Wizards are just playing incredible basketball right now. Philly's got solid players in Embiid and Ben Simmons. The story with Philly is that they kind of make it into the playoffs and they just never live up to the expectations of many NBA fans, including the city of Philly. But what do you think about this matchup?
This is an interesting matchup. The last time these two teams faced each other was 1986. And the Wizards weren't the Wizards, they were the Bullets. And the 76ers were led by Charles Barkley and Dr. J.
Round mound rebound.
Yeah, and in fact, he averaged a double-double for the series.
Nice.
The one thing that I look at here is I look at Philly, and I always consider them a very fragile team.
Ego-wise, you're talking about mentally, I'm assuming.
Mentally, they are very weak.
Agreed.
But they also have a lot of talent.
Tons.
And
they've had talent in the last years.
If they take Simmons and try and lock down Westbrook to kill the distribution of the Wizards' offense, and if Russ starts breaking him down and making him look stupid, Simmons goes into a cocoon. And he's done for the entire series. Yeah. He will be absolutely useless. His jump shot will start failing. The only
hold on a second. He's got a jump shot?
Sorry. Yeah. Whatever there is there. And Embiid is the same way. When he starts to see things not going well, it's crying Jordan face. We've seen it from him before. The only guy that seems to stay the course is Tobias Harris. That
He's
guy,
mentally sound.
he's very sound. I don't like him on that team. He needs to
I
get
hate
out of
him on
there.
this team.
He needs to go somewhere where he's going to win because that dude has game and very high IQ.
Yeah.
And with the Wizards, they had to play some really good ball to get in here. And I think because no one expected them to be here, even I didn't think they were going to beat Indy after they got handed that L from the Celtics because I thought they were going to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Westbrook and Beal are going to look at this as a second chance, and they're not going to take this light. And I think these two teams match up really well. And
they didn't just beat the Pacers; they spanked the Pacers by like 25 or something.
They destroyed them. So for me, I think with that extra game and that extra confidence build, I see Russ breaking Simmons down very easily. I don't think they're going to put Seth Curry on him because Westbrook will just destroy Seth Curry. And that's just going to allow him to distribute to Hachimura and Beal and Len and Neto. So for me, I don't know if I'm going out on a ledge here, but I'm thinking the Wizards are going to upset the 76ers here.
I think I might be with you. I was looking up some information before this game and just looking at how these teams match up and how good Washington has been playing. And it's an interesting point when you take into consideration the mental toughness of Philly. It's almost the opposite story in Washington. That team is mentally tough. They're mentally sound. Russ is not going to be broken by a loss or a bad pass. He's going to come down the lane and dunk it in your face and embarrass you, give you a poster. The East is kind of interesting too because, in all reality, I don't think these teams would have lined up if this was a normal regular season, 82 games. Everybody in the stands, all these things. I wouldn't see Philly at the top.
No,
there's no reason Brooklyn shouldn't be at the top. And again, injuries, I get it. I think the Wizards are going to give them a real run for their money here, and I think they're going to come out. I think they're going to come out and steal game one, and I think it's going to be a problem.
I think so too, and They showed some mental toughness in that series against Toronto a couple of years, but they kind of fell flat on their face last year. And I just think that when your back's against the wall, I don't think Philly's the team you want your money on. So that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and Beal can go off too, right? Let's not forget about Beal's ability. This guy can go and score 40, and he's got Russ probably with him with a triple double, 35 points or something like that.
Exactly.
So these guys can go off, and Russell's a dog with a bone. So, yeah, I'm going to take the upset here with you as well. Okay, let's take a look at the next one here. So Dallas at Clippers. This is an interesting one. This is a 4-5 matchups with Clippers in the fourth position there.
Yeah.
Obviously, Porzingis is back. He's been playing pretty good. Clippers, they kind of have the players, but can they do it? And will we see the end of playoff Paul George and bring real Paul George to the table here? And let's see what he can do on the offensive end. Is he going to change this series? I think he's the X factor for me in this series.
I definitely think he is. He's definitely the X factor here. But when you look at the season these two teams have had against each other, look at the head-to-head scoring. You're talking almost 20-point difference.
Yeah.
That includes 2 blowouts and 1 close game, and
Kawhi didn't play one of those, I think, right?
Yeah. And I don't even think Luka played in one of those either. So
okay.
The thing that I look at here is, do you bet against Kawhi in the first round? Can you see Kawhi going out in the first round, or is he just going to take the series over and just, call game and end it?
I think he has to do that to be competitive against this team. I don't think there's any way around it. This is his team. He has to command this basketball game.
Who on the Clippers is going to stop Kristaps?
They're going to probably just let him go and try to lock up Doncic and just try to slow down his facilitation of the basketball and try to keep him off the line.
But who's going to lock down Luka?
Paul George. He's a good defender. You're not going to have Kawhi on him. I don't see that happening. But if you can slow Luka down,
you might have to.
I mean, it may come to that in this series if it's not going the Clippers' way. I mean,
Yeah.
Paul George is a very good defender as well. The problem is if he's defending, if he's trying to defend Luka, he's probably not going to be very productive on the offensive end.
Yeah, we also have to remember that Boban's there too, and Tim Hardaway Jr. You know, this Mavericks team is not a team to take lightly. I think that this is the matchup that the Clippers didn't want in the first round. You know, if they won a couple more games towards the end of the year, they would have avoided Dallas, but they didn't. And
they would have likely played. They would have ended up maybe in the 3rd seed playing Denver.
Yeah, something like that. It obviously not an easier road, but
yeah,
these teams with these bigs are the teams that give the Clippers problems.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, I don't think they have anyone who is going to stop. And I don't mean like stop a traditional big man. And Kristaps and Boban are traditional bigs. These are the guys that, you know, back to the basket that are going to do, you know, the 2 drop steps under, you know, over and under, underneath, off the glass. You know, Trez can bang with the centers that are more like him, those hybrid types that like to come out and shoot. But this is a really tough series for me to grade.
This will probably go deep too. I think this will probably
be going to go deep.
7 games.
Now the last time they faced each other was in the bubble last year, and the Clippers did end up winning that series 4-2. But there were a couple of games that were super close, and I'm thinking that it's almost like revenge factor here, right? And Dallas is on the road, and if they get that jump on them, and you know they go home with a split, that means home court advantage is in their favor. So, you know, for me, it's going on a ledge for sure, and I'm going to take Dallas.
Wow. That's tough. This is going to be a great series. I think this is going to be a lot more interesting and more exciting than people would think. I mean, the Clippers, they're not a lot of fun to watch. They're just kind of a quiet team. I mean, you know, there's not a lot of highlights in those games that I've been watching, anyways.
No.
And Doncic he's such a well-rounded player, and he's able to pivot and change. I mean, pivot like strategies and change his basketball, positioning very, very well within the games.
Yeah.
I still think LA is going to push through. I mean, they have to. It's just a sad story with the Clippers. So many years in past. I'm going to take the Clippers. I think it's going to go 7 games probably.
All right.
This is an interesting one. And Portland Trailblazers, and Denver Nuggets. Portland.
It's Portland.
We keep it 100 here. Okay,
100.
so yeah, 100. So 1-2 in the series. Denver taking 2 of those. I mean, Denver's a beast of a team. Jokic, Clarkson. These guys not Clarkson. These guys are very well defended. They can produce on the offensive end, but they don't have Jamal Murray.
No.
And on the other side, you have Damian Lillard. So who's going to match up against this guy, and who's going to be able to put a pin in it? Because you're going to see playoff Damian Lillard shooting from the logo late in game, and he can close the lights real quick.
For me, I'm less worried about Lillard, and if I'm Portland, I'm more worried about how the hell I'm going to slow Jokic down. Jamal Murray or not, you're talking about a team that is injured, is missing their star, arguably their big star in Jamal Murray.
Definitely on the offensive end for sure.
Yeah,
he's putting up some big numbers.
And I think that Jokic is just going to bully Kanter. And I don't know how many guys you've got on that team that you're going to be able to throw at this guy in the paint. The thing with Dame is if you can contain him and kind of slow down his distribution, that's going to get CJ not firing if he's not getting early touches. And we all know about Norm. If he's not getting touches or minutes, he tends to not kind of come through when he needs to.
Get him involved early too.
That's what you need to do if you want to beat Denver, because I just think the style of play that Denver has is you've seen it this year. They can run up the score. They can drop 130, 140 points, and it's like a regular day at the office.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been doing that without Murray in the lineup. In fact, I think they're 16-8 without Murray in the lineup. So they've got a 750 record without that arguably their number one star. So, for me, I'm more worried about how Portland is going to be able to keep up with Denver in this series, because for me, I'm all over Denver on this. I just think that Jokic is going to be way too much for Portland to handle.
I don't know. Something gives me the feeling that Portland is gonna win this series, and I just don't know. I just don't know. I know this is one of the better Denver Nugget teams we've seen in a very long time. I don't know. I feel like Portland is going to win this series. I think Dame is going to just take over. CJ is they're going to work together. I know it's going to be tough to match up against Jokic, and he's going to get his points and he's going to facilitate the basketball, and he's going to play very, very well in the series. But I have a feeling that the Denver Nuggets are going to fall to the Trailblazers. I think this is probably going to go six games. That's going to be my guess.
I'm just trying to get an idea of when he might be back. I don't think he's coming back at all.
The other thing too is if he comes back, what does that do with the chemistry?
No, he's out for the year. Okay. He's not coming back.
All right. I don't know. Yeah. I got a feeling it's going to be Portland. I don't know. I'm going to go out there. There's probably not a lot of people that will take Portland in this series, but
I think actually it's the opposite. I think everyone's taking Portland.
Really?
Series.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know why that would be. I'm actually surprised to hear that.
I mean, you got to think. Okay, see, you got Aaron Gordon there as well, and Aaron Gordon can, if that light gets turned on, he can drop buckets. Michael Porter Jr. I mean, you've got some guys that can play. I mean, MPJ's, I think he's up for 6th man of the year, so he can lock guys down if he needs to. The only thing, that I don't know if they're going to have anyone that can lock down Dame. And I know they've got guys that can lock down CJ, that can lock down Norm. Jokic is going to lock down Cantor. I mean, if you're going to let Dame go off, let Dame go off and just stop his distribution. Because if you can do that, he's not going to beat you. He will not beat you single-handedly. He needs his team involved. And if his team's not involved, then it's game over. But they also tried to do that with Jordan, and it never worked. So
find a way, right?
He always found a way.
Okay. Let's move on here. Golden State Jazz. 2-1 in the series, 119-120 on the head-to-head. Jazz are really good, but Golden State's just balling out.
They are.
There's a ton of playoff experience on Golden State. Steph has more playoff experience than the entire team combined.
Yeah. This is true. But Golden State doesn't have Rudy Gobert. And he is going to definitely limit the effectiveness of them driving into the lane. Now, that works kind of into their hands because I don't think Wiggins has driven into the lane that much this year. I don't know what happened to his slashing skills. They're gone. He's settling for the mid-range game, trying to be DeMar. It hasn't worked out so far that well for him. And then when you look on the other side with Utah, you toss in Clarkson and Ingles. I mean, these guys are shooting the ball and playing very well. I don't know if Mitchell is back.
You know what? When I was saying if he comes back, I was actually thinking of Utah. So if Spider comes back, is that going to throw that chemistry off?
I don't think it will.
Because they are playing very good basketball.
Okay, so he's expected to make it for the opener on Sunday.
Really?
Yeah. So that's a huge dynamic change in this series.
That's very interesting.
So now you're talking about a full lineup in Utah who were dominant for the entire year. For me, and the pickups they made, where they picked up Matt Thomas from the Raptors, so they've got shooters off the bench too. So they're not short of guys that can launch from three.
Oh, and Ingles can light you up. We talked about his 3-point stuff. I think he's got 169 3-pointers.
Yeah, so he's got that prowess.
It's unbelievable, absolutely.
So if they can match Steph 3 for 3, I think it's going to be a quick series. Wow. I don't think Draymond's going to do anything except maybe kick Gobert in the nuts. That'll probably be about it. I don't know if there's anyone on the Jazz that Wiggins can lock down. Oubre hasn't done much. I mean, who am I missing? I don't think I'm missing anybody because that's about it. Toscano, I mean, yeah, he's a decent piece, but I don't see a way Golden State gets through Utah. I don't. I really don't. I want to try and find a way just because, I want to see Steph beat those odds, and
I don't want to see them beat the. I don't want to see him beat the odds. That's not why I'm kind of going back and forth here. I just don't know. I mean, he is the best player in the world right now.
He is,
and I just feel like if he gets, I mean, some of the stuff that he's doing. I'm seeing these highlights in the last 15 games. There's 5 guys on this guy, and he is still dropping a 3, 5, 10 feet behind the 3-point line.
Which I don't understand. Let him beat you because he's not going to score 130 points. He's not going to do it.
I mean, he is the best shooter of all time.
He might get to 90. I could see him dropping 33s in a game, but there's still – I just don't think there's enough around him, and I think it's been a long year. I think without Clay there and having that second option, because Wiggins is not it, and Oubre was an expensive mistake.
Yes. Never liked him.
No. And I think they may have had a shot at getting Ingram, and I think Ingram would have been a better fit in Golden State than Oubre was.
Nice and quiet too.
Yeah. Quiet demeanor, goes about his business, and drops 15 and 8.
Perfect for a team like that where you have some guys with already some bigger egos in Steph and Clay.
Yeah, and I think with Clay coming back next year, it's kind of like, okay, the good ship Warrior has been righted, and I'm certain that with what Steph's doing, people are going to want to go there. So
absolutely,
I'm thinking next year might be better for them. For me, it's very hard. I know the Jazz, this is kind of like a one-off. And they just balled out this year and beat everybody up. I don't see that stopping right now. So for me, I got to go with the Jazz.
I know we're going to do our picks. I'm going to reserve my pick until we get to that slide because I need to think about this more. I'm just not convinced. I'm not convinced yet. And I'm not a big Warriors fan. Steph is just. He's Steph.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a very interesting series. We talked about this a little bit offline yesterday. Lakers, Suns, 7-2. Lakers with the play-in. LeBron with the drama as usual. But they're there, and they're matching up against the Phoenix Suns. Not a lot of playoff experience in this team, really, minus CP3.
Yeah.
But they do have CP3 in the point guard. They played very, very well. I think only one game out of finishing at the top spot, and they would have faced Golden State. How do you see these two teams matching up? Season series 2-1 in favor of the Suns.
Yeah, this is always that issue because I like the Suns here, but when you start thinking about the whistle, where the whistle's going. And the whistle's going for the guy lying on the ground.
Love that pick.
Flopper. Funny stat that came out of the Golden State game, though. AD had 0 points when he was guarded by Draymond. And then when Draymond was off the floor, he had 25.
2-time Defensive Player of the Year, right?
Now, do I think that DeAndre Ayton is Draymond Green? No, I don't. But I think he can slow AD down. So let's call that those two threats cancel each other out.
Okay.
Now let's look at LeBron because Caruso doesn't get in too much, and I don't think they have anyone else that's really going to be moving the needle. So
Kuzma, you think he'll be a non-factor here, or just be the same?
When has Kuzma ever been a factor?
I'm just. You just never know. You just never. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. It's
So
more of a fashion model.
he has more post moves on Instagram than he has in his game. So now it's LeBron against Booker and CP3. And the crazy thing is LeBron's still going to get the calls. I mean, this guy gets hit with phantom elbows and like on his back, knocked out.
Never touched his chin.
Never. So that's my concern because this guy gets protected like crazy, but he gets to bully people around.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking that no matter what the Suns do, they're just not going to get the whistle. As much as I like them to win this series, just because they've had a great year,
unbelievable year,
and CP3 and Booker and Ayton have just been getting along really well and playing some really great basketball, and I would like to see them match up against a Utah or against a Denver, where those games are going to be like must-watch games.
Absolutely. Yeah, they'd be winner of this would face the Portland Denver matchup.
Portland. I'm gonna reserve my pick because I still got to think about this because it's bugging me. It's just that LeBron factor, and it's not a factor because he's the greatest player in the game. It's a factor that the whistle is going to go in the Lakers' favor the entire series, no matter what is done. That's just how it is.
I just don't see the Lakers not making it out of the first round. I don't care where they're seated in here. They should be seated higher. If everybody was healthy, they'd probably be second in the top 3 for sure. I really want CP3 to do something with this team, and I really want them to go deep in the playoffs. And I would love to see them kind of match up against, like Denver or Portland and get to those semifinals and or Western Conference Finals rather, and play, the Clippers or Mavericks or whoever comes out on that end. I just think it would be a more exciting storyline overall for the NBA.
Yeah.
For the fans who haven't seen these guys really make it out of these certain rounds. And, I love CP3. He's great. I really like Chris Paul. I want to see him do well. I want to see him win something. I want to see him go far. I just don't see the Lakers not being in the second round. I just don't see it. So I'm going to take the Lakers here.
Okay.
I just don't see it happening. I don't know. Whether it's the whistle, whether it's not, whether it's LeBron, whether AD, someone's going to have to step up on that team.
Yeah.
And that might have to be, Kuzma one time in this series where he has 16 points. You know what I mean?
I think that's asking a lot.
Caruso one time where he goes off for maybe 20 points and helps squeeze them over. I don't know. The hardest thing I think in this is how long this series is going to be. I think it's either going to be like 5 games or 7 games. I think it's going to be, on the shorter side or all the way for a full run. But yeah, let's make our picks and let's move on here. This is a tough one.
Yeah.
Some interesting matchups this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with the East, and I'll go first.
Okay.
I think we both already had this, but I'm going with Washington to upset the Philadelphia 76ers.
I am going to do the exact same.
Okay, you go first on the Miami Bucks.
I'm taking Miami.
I'm taking Miami also. Celtics, Nets.
Nets.
Okay. Knicks, Hawks.
Shit. Shoot.
I'm taking the Knicks.
I'll take the Hawks.
Okay. Warriors, Jazz. Ooh.
Jazz.
I'm going to go with the Warriors. I'm going to put it out there. I think Steph is just balling out. It's going to be very, very tough for them to beat the Jazz, but I think they're going to steal a couple of games. They got Kerstl at the helm. He knows the game of basketball very, very well. I'm going to go with Golden State. Mavs, Clippers.
Mavs.
Clippers. Portland, Denver.
Denver.
I'm going to go Portland. And Lakers, Suns for the finale.
In this situation, I have to think, what would Patty McSizzlelocks do?
Okay.
He'll take the Suns. That's what he would do.
Wow.
Because
Okay.
he wouldn't know who they were, but he likes the Sun.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. No, he's good. Yeah, he can get a tan for sure. I'm gonna go with the Lakers. I mean, LeBron has. I don't think he's ever lost in the first round ever of anything.
No.
Maybe in his career, and I don't see him doing that now. He's still top 3 basketball player, or top 5 at least in the country, in the NBA, and I just think he's going to figure out a way to win. So that's that. So those are the picks. We'll have those in the description, so check those out, name by name. And that's our playoff preview. Junior, any final thoughts before we wrap?
No. I'm just looking forward to this and trying to make some money off of it.
There's a little bit of uneasiness in this playoffs. There's so many different matchups. There's a lot of different matchups that I'm just it's a little uncomfortable almost.
There could be one team that just completely destroys everything. And
I think there's anybody can win. I think really anybody can turn something around and do something this season.
That's the crazy aspect of it, right? You know,
like we got Washington beating Philly, both of us.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? Like, really, I think anything is possible here.
Oh, just it goes to tell you that we don't like Philly.
Well, that too. Awesome. Okay, well, everybody here, thank you. We appreciate you. Please hit that subscribe button. Turn notifications on. Comment. Drop a like for us. That helps grow our channel. We try to put out as much quality content as possible. So please feel free to check out some of our other videos. For everybody here at Offside and Out of Bounds, I'm Adam.
I'm Junior.
See you real
soon.